Me gusta, la idea de me gusta, la idea de expresar preferencias en español no es nueva. Hemos visto mucho, hemos tenido mucha práctica con el verbo gustar. Entonces, lo que vamos a aplicar es me gusta a otros verbos diferentes, ¿ok? Y let's see. Pronombres. I'm going to guess this just because of time. Okay. ¿Cuándo te gusta ducharte? So, voy a presentar el concepto con un verbo que conocemos. ¿Cuándo te gusta? So, ¿cuándo te gusta is asking you what? ¿Cuándo te gusta is when. Who's this question for?
That is for
you. So, when do you what?
When do you shower?
When do you like to take a shower? Exactly, nada más. Y cuando respondemos, nosotros usamos a mí me gusta. Okay, so notice it doesn't say yo gusto. It's not like yo hablo. We know when we're expressing likes in Spanish, we don't say yo. And our verb gusta doesn't end with an O. Because like Jay said, it's saying, we're really reading from right to left. Like showering in the morning is pleasing to me. That's really how this is working grammatically and literally, which helps clarify why this verb functions the way it does. What's up, just a little side note, what's up with these mays on the end of these verbs? Yeah, we're not conjugating. Why are we conjugating duchar here? Why is it me gusta duchar? Why isn't it me gusta me ducho? If I say me gusta duchar, I'm saying I like to shower. To shower is not conjugated. If I say me gusta me ducho, I'm saying I shower. Doesn't make sense. You don't usually have two conjugated verbs right next to each other. Gusta is conjugated, so we leave duchar alone, like leer, or, comer, or correr, or hablar. But ducharse is reflexive. Remember? It's a reflexive verb from this chapter. So even though it normally has a se on the end, we have to change it to me or te, if the question's for you, because the pronoun still has to agree with the subject, even though we're not conjugating the verb. That doesn't apply to a verb like leer, because it's not leer se. You're not reading yourself, okay? But duchar se, the whole verb by itself has a se on the end, so that pronoun has to change, okay? But that doesn't apply to everything. So, a mí me gusta ducharme por la mañana después de levantarme. A Profeseta le gusta ducharse. Le gusta ducharse. So why am I using le? Who am I referring to? Or who are you referring to on your paper? La profesita. Exactly. So you're talking about me in third person. You're saying what? She likes, right? She likes.
Showering in the morning is pleasing to.
Exactly. Shower in the morning is pleasing to her. Exactly. Or profesita. And notice my pronouns, although my verb's not conjugated, duchar and levantar, left alone. Say is kept as say because why? Who are we referring to? Who's this talking about? Third person singular, profeseta. Okay? All right. So hopefully all of that is clear so far. And that we know what we know we can build on. So reflexive verbs. How can you tell if a verb is reflexive? Reflexive verbs require a reflexive pronoun. What's an example of a reflexive verb? We just talked about a couple. What's a reflexive verb? It's those verbs that... Yeah. Levantar-se. Lavar-se. Despertar-se. All those ones with a little se because they require that reflexive pronoun. Okay? Right. It's confusing because we've learned so many pronouns this semester. I don't like that about this textbook because really in a matter of chapters, it's like every single pronoun possible in Spanish, which of course is going to get confusing. But these are reflexive pronouns because like Ethan said, the subject and the object are the same. You do this to yourself. You can wash your dog, you can wash your car, you can wash your clothes. But if you're washing your hands or you're washing your hair, that's reflexive, okay? So it can be lavar la ropa, or it can be me lavo el pelo, and then you know I'm doing it to myself, okay? That's what a reflexive does. Verbs like gustar, though, require an indirect object pronoun, which is what we learned last chapter. It's still mete and nos. Mete and nos are reflexive pronouns, direct object pronouns, and indirect object pronouns. So it's like a 3-for-1 special, which is nice. But then we have direct object pronouns, lo, la, los, and las. Thanks, Jake. Lo, la, los, and las. And then we have these reflexive pronouns, say, and then we have our indirect object pronouns. So I know your memories right now, you're really distracted. It's Friday before spring break, and it's total chaos right now. But does anybody remember what an indirect object pronoun is? And it was just on your paper when we talk about somebody else. It's not say, it's lay. Muy bien, excelente. So we have mete and nos apply to all of them. And then the indirects are lay and lace. We still say me gusta, te gusta, but le gusta or les gusta if we're about somebody else. Okay? So this is just a review of what we did in chapter 6. That's all. Me, te, nos, and then lay and lace. Indirect object pronouns. And gustar, when we say she likes, we say le gusta. Or they like, we say les gusta. Okay? A Pablo y a Miguel les gusta dormir mucho. Okay? Something like that. Lay and lace. Everything else is repeated. So basically in this chapter, we're going to learn a bunch of, it's basically vocab. So on page 187, there's all these verbs that grammatically work just like gustar. Vocab-wise, they mean something different, okay? So you have to study this. A is vocab. Some of it's pretty obvious, like importar, interesar. Molestar no es abuso sexual, okay? It does not mean to molest. It means to bother or annoy. But students never have trouble remembering that one because it's so profound. Quedar, fascinar, faltar, encantar, and aburrir. Aburrir is kind of like aburrido, and a lot of people know aburrido. So we're just learning new vocab words, but we're going to apply the rules that we know about gustar, me gusta. So if something's boring to me, I would say not yo aburro, because that's saying I bore. We're going to say me aburre, la clase de historia. I actually like history, but that's just an example, and I'll show you more. Sí, pregunta?
Encantar sounds like enchant.
Yeah, and that's when you read from right to left, you're saying, you know, it's enchanting to me. It really, that is what it means, but we translate it as to love. But notice it's to love objects. If you love someone, what verb do you use when you say I love you? Well, yeah, that's to express being in love. Amor, or do you remember como se dice I love you in Espanol? We learned it.
For me, amor is my love.
My love. Te quiero or te amo. Te amo or te quiero. Because these are in the yo forms. I know, but in this context, if you say te quiero, you're really typically saying, that's an A. You're saying I love you. Te amo, te quiero. I'm the subject, yo, and I love you, te. But if I love Spanish, I would say me encanta español. You're not going to... Yeah, it's a thing. You don't use it with people. You can use it with places, you can use it with things, but you don't usually use it with people. Right, no beating hearts. Okay, so I'm just that, sorry. Okay, so me gusta lavarme el pelo. So me gusta, one last thing about gusta, just to remember with the verb like gustar, it uses an indirect object pronoun. And remember, regardless of tense, past, present, whatever tense we learn, there's only 2 forms of gusta. Remember? Yeah, gusta, singular, gustan, plural. So it's not who's expressing the preference, it's what the preference is about. That determines whether or not we're going to use gusta, singular, or gustan, plural. And that's going to apply to all these verbs on page 187. So like on your paper, you have, for example, the singular form gusta and the plural form gustan. And remember, the singular form is always, it's always singular whenever you have verbs after, whenever you have infinitives, like me gusta, like, you know, tomar, ir a la playa y tomar el sol. Those are two activities, but we use gusta. Always gusta with verbs, so you might need to note that. But if something's boring to you, which might be kind of like the opposite or molestar, it would be aburre, because it's an ir verb, or the plural aburre. So if mathematics, which is plural, is boring to you, Jake, I would say a Jake no le aburren las matemáticas.
Is there a double E?
Double R's.
Double R.
Mhm.
A-U-B-U.
Yeah. But if something bothers you, you would say me molestan, if it's two things. Or, you know, if you don't like two things, like no me gustan, you know, la pizza, y, I don't know, like los spaghetti del ristorante Monza or whatever. I don't even think they have spaghetti there. But if you're talking about plural things, you just add the N. It does not affect your pronoun. So really going to fly through this. Oh yeah, no, this is important. I can't. GUSTAR changes based on what comes after the blank. Okay? If it's singular after the blank, if it's plural after the blank, then we have to make our verb plural or our verb singular. Regardless if we're talking about Bella or Bella y a me or Brian y a Ethan, it doesn't matter who we're talking about. That is what the pronoun's for. Okay? Remember all this with the verb gustar? So that's all we're doing with these verbs. It's either encanta or encantan. If you love something that's singular, it's encanta. If somebody loves something that's plural, it's encantan. And further. Interesa, what do you think interesa means? Interesting. So you find it interesting. So a lot of times as native English speakers, and myself too, we want to say like, la clase de español es interesante. But it's also really common for native speakers to say like, me interesa la clase de español. They don't always use like, es interesante or es importante. If something's important, you don't have to say like, you know, estudiar es muy importante. You would say, me importa mucho estudiar. So you can use, or even if somebody's important to you, you can use that with people. Or you're not important to me. That's like when you're breaking up with somebody in Spanish. You'd be like, no me importa. And they would be like, oh, ¿por qué? So anyway, and then this should be singular. Copy and paste strikes again. Okay, so that's basically all we're doing here. So, tomar una siesta. What type of, all right, tomar una siesta. If you were going to express an opinion about tomar una siesta, the first part of your opinion will be expressed with what? When you're personally expressing your opinion, you'll use what pronoun? Yeah. But your pronoun will be what? What pronoun do you use to me? And then now, you're going to choose one of these verbs to express an opinion about tomar una siesta. And yeah, encantar is a good one because it's probably more than just gustar. Encantar. So would it be, you have two options, encanta or encantan. Which one would you use? Encanta. Because why? Yep, and verbs. Verbs are always singular. Ducharse por la mañana. Some people, it might be important to them, or maybe it's boring. Me, so we have to use me. Importa or importan? Me importa, singular because why?
It's one shower.
It's one shower. It's just, verbs are always singular. And then if this was the supersite, you would submit it and you'd be like, ugh, I forgot about that. And you have to submit it again and change your pronoun to me because why? It has to agree.
Agree with you.
Exactly. What about leer y escribir? And don't use gusta because you probably don't like reading and writing. So, what verb first? What verb? Aburrir. Perfect. So we're going to use may. And we have two options. Aburre or aburren. Repeat them. Aburre. Muy bien. But there's two things. Why is it singular? Because what are these two things? They're verbs. And verbs are what? Always singular. What about los conciertos de orquesta? Un verbo. It expresses violin, piano, tambor. So, un verbo. What verb expresses your opinion about los conciertos de orquesta? No, be honest, por favor. Aburrir. Okay, otra vez. So, may, we'll use may again. Or nos, but that doesn't include me, it doesn't inform me. Aburre or aburren? Aburren. Plural. Okay.
Los
conciertos. Plural.
Have so much to do with like Maytables.
It has nothing to do with that.
Okay, good. As long as you're-
Yep. Exactly. It's all, I mean, it does if I'm asking you. I'm asking all you all. It's me speaking to a group of people. So let's practice with a question. I'm going to use a different example. So I'm going to change it to sus notas because I'm asking y'all. And notas are like A en la clase de español, B en la clase de química, like B en la clase de música, etc. Those are notas. So what do you think notas are? Nota de midterm. Yeah, grades. So if I'm asking this question for you all, what pronoun would I use? I'm not going to use may because I'm not expressing my opinion. I'm asking all y'all. Close. Plural form of lace. So I would say lace. And I'm probably going to use the verb importar because I'm asking what? Importan, plural. Why would I probably use the verb importar? Because I'm asking if they're what? If grades are important to you. But notice, this is plural because why? Who I'm asking or what I'm asking about?
Who you're asking.
What I'm asking about. Notas is plural. I know it's confusing because they both happen to be plural. But if you respond like, sí, profeseta, if you want to say that they are important to you, or maybe they're not, then what would you say? Well, you can. Yeah, but first, what pronoun do you use? Talk about your own preference. May. And then, does anything change? No, because we're still talking about grades. We just don't want to say sus notas. We would change it to mis notas. ¿Ok? ¿Comprenden el concepto? Tengo muchos ejemplos más, pero yo quiero usar